Konotations is a collection of memories, observations, and tiny bits of historical naval lint served up by Dr. Lee Konowe.
The story won't take very long, but it will offer quite a few hints as to my dad's life trajectory. I might suggest you try catching these hints as they fly by and hold them for later use. Let me set the stage a bit. I, having been born C-section to offer my mother a better chance of survival, and with me weighing in at well over 8 pounds, at New York Hospital on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, it would be 4 days before I arrived home at my formal digs. 215 East Gun Hill Road in the Bronx was a 6-story, pre-World War II brick apartment. While always special to me, there wasn't much that set it apart from many other similar era apartment buildings in my neighborhood, except that it housed Louis' candy store / restaurant on the ground floor. And I will to this day hold that it was the best in the Bronx. Of course, kids from every other apartment house held at their candy stores in equally high regard. They were just wrong. So Louis will feature more prominently in future episodes, but the ground level also hosted Dr. Gottesman, the dentist. No painkillers used, not in those days, and an informal storefront that had been used by Hadassah, a woman Zionist organization that until this day assists with global health issue as well as now settling Ukrainian war refugees. As we will find out later, my mother had extensive ties to the Hadassah. Moving along, for today's purposes, we are more interested in apartment 4A, that's the 4th floor, which housed my parents, myself, along with a male parakeet named Pixie. 4A was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit with a living room, entry hall dining room, bathroom, and a kitchenette. The last space, approximately 7 by 8 feet rectangular, which was meant to be an eat-in kitchenette, actually served as my bedroom. My room had a single window that looked out into an air shaft, which meant for me to see what the weather was doing. I was required to look up toward the sky. Thus, if it rained, I got wet. If it was snowing, I still got wet. And if the pigeons were unhappy, we'll leave that alone. Recalling the title of this story, directly across the hall from the kitchen was a closet. Yes, the closet. My mother had paneled that closet in real cedar planking. I say real as if this set it far apart from the rest of my home, and it did. You see, somewhere along the road to adulthood, my mother became infatuated with 2 surface treatments, just 2, Vaseline and contact paper. The former will be described in more detail as it played a greater role in regards to our cars, while the second was to cover any and all surfaces my mother had any of control over, but not limited to just shelves, doors, and cabinets. While I imagine this closet was far more often called the hall closet in other homes and held coats, shoes, hats, and even galoshes, ours was devoid of such items between 1945 and 1949. Instead, long wooden crates were piled one on top of the other, into which my dad placed rifles, pistols, and uncountable hand grenades. Dangerous, you say? Well, yes, these crates were rapidly picked up, though, on a weekly basis by 2 men and a short woman wearing a beret. Few words were spoken, and a week later the same procedure occurred. Only later, about, I'm thinking, age 11, did my dad finally explain that this choreographed activity was to assist the Haganah being the precursor to the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, and that my dad was a very active member at any time he wasn't trying to unionize another workplace. The weapons that passed through our home, or at least through the hall closet, were provided by returning veterans from the Second World War. They were obviously prohibitions to soldiers returning with such items. Many managed, and when they could not bring their own, they often brought those captured from enemy soldiers. Should say, by the way, these ended up going to Israel, not parenthetically. This would not be part of my father's last philanthropic activities. Over the decades to follow, Dad would assist with such fundraising efforts as the Robel chapter of the American Cancer Society, and decades later with the City of Hope Hospital and Research Center. Many of the as of yet untold stories coming will focus on Dad's efforts on civil rights, but if there was a need, any need, Dad was always there. Before you go, do consider hitting the like button, the notification bell, and the subscribe, please, because those three actions will greatly facilitate in the distribution of this channel. Thanks so much.